You are listening to the daily homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
Jesus came to his native place and taught the people in their synagogue. They were astonished and said, "Where did this man get such wisdom and mighty deeds? Is he not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother named Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Are not his sisters all with us? Where did this man get all this?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place and in his own house." And he did not work many mighty deeds there because of their lack of faith. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I'm not sure how we react to these readings. Maybe we take the side of the prophet Jeremiah and of Jesus. Maybe we need to identify with the other side. And the question is, how do we move forward when we discover that our heart is hardened? And I imagine that this is not a foreign experience for spouses. Obviously, not on their wedding day or their honeymoon or the first year or two, but there'll be moments coming when it gets difficult. And if we see the rate of marriage disintegration, then percentages are relatively high, then it means that there have been lots of issues before that disintegration happens. And yet they loved each other. They chose to be with each other. And the same can happen for me as a priest. Maybe my heart can get hardened in my path. And particularly for parents when they're dealing with, let's say, a teenage child that goes through this turmoil phase of development and of relationship alteration, because they already feel and think they're adults, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to mature and develop on that path. And so the relationship with the parents who have a bigger picture and should know the child pretty well because they have seen the whole development, and particularly the mother since her womb. She can tell different personalities in her womb. They behave differently, she will talk about later on in life. Then when that child rebels and protests and slams the door and say, "You don't love me," what a terrible word to speak to parents. It's horrible. And I think most children that are healthily raised will have a real conscience pain when they remember that moment, maybe even 10 minutes later, an hour later, and they want to find a humble way to fit in again without making too much drama and to restore the relationship. So maybe each of us also at work, with a boss, with a colleague, we can have hardened heart moments. With the country, with the politics, with the church, with the pastor. The pastor can have it with the people. Sometimes the relationships become very difficult and they need to be transferred. It's part of human condition, what we're seeing here in the readings today, that Jeremiah is addressing the city of Jerusalem, the citizens of Jerusalem, the people who are very familiar with the temple, and they don't want to follow God's law. It's a very tough place for the prophet to be and for the parents to be of a teenage child that's in confusion. And so when we discover that we're the ones with the confusion inside, that our heart has hardened towards God, or hardened towards a spouse or to a person, a colleague, what should we do? Because it's a very human reality, and we need a way out. So I'm just inviting you to ponder as well and to think. And the prayer of the psalm today is helpful because it comes from a person in great need. Rescue me out of the mire. May I not sink. May I be rescued from my foes. And at this point, the foe isn't really the other person. It's the interior stress inside, the interior opposition. That's my passions, my pride is hurt. I feel humiliated, and that's bringing me down. But that's not my real self. My real self should rise above it. And again, we could appeal to the line we had from Jeremiah there 3 days ago, where God says to him in his moment of rebellion against God, he said, God, you are an unreliable stream. There's no water. He said to God, you are unreliable stream. And it's a tremendous word of rebellion. And God says to him, when you are able to bring forth the precious from the vile, from the horrible and the ugly, then you will be my prophet. So we all are called to learn in the midst of vile circumstances to bring forth the precious. And we need to form ourselves in this, otherwise we will sink in the mire, we will sink in the dirt, we will sink in the misery of the world and the corruption and the depravity of so many situations, the shortcomings that are repugnant, and we would feel alienated. And we nevertheless are called, like our God of salvation who comes to rescue us, we are called to participate in coming out of the mire, to say yes to grace. And maybe a good way to do it, and today is Friday, is to develop the habit of looking at Christ crucified. And so many saints have done this. Ignatius, the saint we have today who founded the Jesuit order, he was injured in a battle. He was a horseman, and the battles were pretty gruesome. But he got injured, and afterwards he would say, I am thankful that I was injured in my body so my soul could be healed. Because he was very proud. He was a very high society guy, very smart, and he was very sure of himself. And he discovered that he needed to learn humility. He would afterwards go on to teach different stages of humility in the spiritual growth pattern. What a beautiful reality that God can bring us to that change. And contemplating Christ, what he undertook, what he underwent for our salvation. And we can teach and I can preach about this, but it's much more powerful when we look at somebody who did it. And particularly Jesus, our leader in the faith, our Savior. And we watch how he took the mire, the dirt, the difficulties, the insults, the horrors of torture, and he brought the good out. Father, forgive them. Today you'll be with me in paradise. Take care of your mother. Mother, take care of your son. It's all doing good for others. He's bringing forth the precious. He doesn't want any of them to sink.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.